the secret files of Teletraan 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the files of Teletraan 2, and I have to admit, every time I say that, I kind of forget what the name of the show is.
Oh no.
Every time. It's a bit weird. I think it's because it's so long.
All you need to do is remember the end of Season 3 episodes where it goes from the secret files of Teletraan 2.
And the problem there is remembering the end of Season 3 episodes.
What? Oh man.
I like a lot of Season 3 episodes. I never watched the end.
What? I always liked the ending bits. I thought they were fun. It had a good little tune. Gave you little clips from the original series, or the previous series. I was like, oh, do you remember the Decepticons? Who are they? Well, the Decepticons are led by Megatron. And you're like, I remember that. I'm 5.
I didn't watch it when I was 5.
Oh.
I didn't watch Transformers until I was like in my early 20s.
Whose fault is that?
No one's?
No, it's the Irish government for not putting it on Irish TV.
Beast Wars was on if you hacked a channel.
If you hacked the channel.
In the mid-90s, a new TV channel was introduced called TV3. It's gone now. And most TVs couldn't get it. Mm-hmm. But if you spent like an hour and a half, you could tune in a really fuzzy version. And in order to get people to try and watch it and buy the new TV that could receive it, they had all the stuff like Beast Wars and Godzilla and all the good cartoons that were airing at the time. So every morning and every afternoon after school, I would spend about an hour retuning the TV because it wouldn't stay on the TV to try and catch Beast Wars in time.
Did you not just press the auto-tune button? Because I guarantee you... Yeah, because you remember you had to tune it manually. Because kids these days just go, you mean you press the auto-tune button? It's like, no.
No. I had to sit there. This had dials.
Yep. Like a radio, kids. Like the radio in your car or in your dad's car.
Yeah, they're sitting there like, you mean his iPod?
Nope.
I suppose iPod's outdated now.
Yeah, technically, in a lot of ways. Oh, that's sad. Do you remember when tuning a TV also had to involve you if it was a travel TV, if it was a TV you took on holiday, you had to hold the aerial out.
Move the feckers around and you had to get them both facing exactly the right direction.
Yep. And it was always a tiny screen as well because it was a travel TV.
Yep, and then nothing would move. No. There would be no change in the weather, there would be no change in anything. But then you just see the signal go.
Yeah. For no reason. Just went, nah, I'm done. And you went, yeah. But why?
And all you'd see was one middle finger fading into your TV screen. And because of how TVs worked back then, it would burn itself into the TV. Mm. So every time you turn it on, a middle finger greeted you.
Yeah, because, back in the day, one of the big worries about Sky was the logos. In the water seals in the top left or the top right-hand corner of the screen would burn into TVs.
Yep.
Things you don't worry about today, kids.
Yeah, you at your fancy flat screens.
To be fair, no one's watching TV anymore for the most part. Everyone's watching the stuff online. So
yeah, but they watch it on their TV.
That's true. The TV exists. It's just everything on the TV is superfluous.
And I'm watching my mother cut a lawn outside and look really serious.
Does she know it's 8 o'clock in the after 8 in the evening?
She's sitting there with this look of just focus. She's not paying attention to me, so. It's fascinating to watch.
Is it does she have the face of a lady who's like, why isn't my son doing this?
Oh no, I've already gotten given out to for putting stuff off.
Oh, good, okay.
So yes, but yes, for you, as I make horrible mistakes at my life, I give so much up. But yeah, we're apparently here to talk about comics. Andy's really, really looking forward to this one.
Whoa, what an adventure I had these 2 days reading comics.
He kept on messaging me about this and just being like, there was so much enthusiasm about talking about this. So we are talking about 3 issues in the main show, and in our extension for you Patreon people, we're talking about the first issue of Secrets and Lies, the sequel to Transformers 1984. In this case, it is What Happened on the original Marvel run that you didn't see.
Yes.
But we'll be getting to that. So, first up we have Rise of the Decepticons, Tremors, issue 21 in the Transformers series. Written by Brian Ruckley, art by Billy Montfort and Blackie Shepard.
Are these two new people, by the way?
Yes, these are two brand new people.
Okay.
Letters by Jake M. Wood, edited by David Mariotti, Tom Waltz, and Riley Farmer. Why are there so many editors? So we'll get into it. And basically, the geology crowd is out. The greatest of pub crawls has begun, with Azimuth Beachcomber Geomotus, who still exists after having an introduction issue about 14 issues ago.
God, was it that long? Jesus. You're
I think.
Probably right.
And Landmine, because these are all the Earth people.
Yes.
No
quick mix, though. No quick mix. No scoop.
No scoop. Mm-hmm. Scoop is off praying somewhere. So they see, I still think this is a very silly name, Flights. Because they fly.
Yeah, pterodactyls, basically. Pteranodons.
No, they're flights.
Yeah, that look exactly like Earth dinosaurs.
Flights. Mm-hmm. They're circling a fissure where Leviathan, the Earth, sort of earthbound titan, has crashed. She's stuck in there, and she won't come out. And I specifically say she won't come out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Geomotus...
She's stuck, right?
No, she won't come out.
Mm.
Let us explain. Geomotus is basically kind of sciencing her, and she snaps at him, and he's like, because he's like, you know, he's you know, neurologically atypical. He decides that he's had enough of that nonsense and leaves. And you know what? I don't think you have to be neurologically atypical to think the Leviathan can be left to her own devices. Azimuth possibly sensibly suggests transform and climb out of the hole, and her response is, "This is my body now. Go get help. I'm important." So she will stay in the hole an indeterminate amount of time because she won't transform.
Do you know what this is, Mikey? Do you remember the episode of The Simpsons where Homer gets his hand stuck in the vending machine? And all he had to do was let go of the chocolate bar to get free?
Yeah, but then he wouldn't have chocolate.
That's true. That is true. But he then would be free of the vending machine. Or both of them, because didn't he get stuck to another one?
Yeah.
Yep. This is the exact same situation. Just transform and leave, please.
But that's her main, her vehicle mode is her main body.
That's fine. You can still get out of us being stuck in a hole. Come on.
Elsewhere, Bumblebee is now under sort of witness protection. Meets up with old Windblade. Kind of doesn't really like the situation. Doesn't like being under watch. Points it out, and Stakeout says, like, no, you could be murdered. But then Megatron gives a speech about how the Autobots are making up lies and subterfuge. Orion and Chromia see it. Chromia is pointing out that bad shit is going down. We can't actually control this. We also can't arrest the high ups anymore. It's gone that far. Ryan agrees, and Sentinel intends to condemn Soundwave and the Decepticons anyway, because that's going to go well. He thinks that Megatron has an advantage that the Autobots don't, which is a clear end goal, which we are still fairly vague on. In another place, Rage is escorting the most wanted of the Rise guys, basically the Murder Squad. Quake, Trigger Happy, Fangry, and Frenzy and Rumble. Rumble doesn't have to be there. He's basically broing it out.
Woo!
There's a lot of arguing, but then a ground quake, not an earthquake, a ground quake, because they're not on Earth.
No.
Flips them. They fall out. This all attracts Geomotus, and the Geology Squad head over to check it out, and they get spotted by the Looney Tunes. And yeah, they also see Leviathan, and Landmine realizes these guys are with the Rise. He calls in security options, and Geomotus decides to hide with Leviathan. You know what? I bet she's not going to look after you. Rage then gets a call from Six Shot, and Astrotrain's too busy to pick him up. You need to deal with this yourself. Trigger Happy goes nuts and tries to murder the science people, screaming, "Say my name!" Which would be Trump says, "We don't know your name," and then he shoots Beachcomber, which I think we've all wanted to do it at some point or another. Trigger Happy's about to murder Landmine when Windblade and the crew show up, and cutting back to the Point Blank, who's brand new. We have him meeting with a Voin, and it turns out that we basically find out a bit about the Voin, that Nautica's trying her best to kind of work things, and that this Voin is going to blow up a building. We then leave the Voin and go back to the fight. Springer is up against Fangry. Quake almost takes him out. Smokescreen helps out. It's getting pretty rumbly, but before the good guys can do anything, Six Shot shows up, which is bad. Also, Blaster is checking in with Lightbright and Lodestar, who are about to chase after Vigilum. Glyph from the Valentine special is going to be joined by her partner Tapout and Steeljaw, who are in this hunt for Vigilum. And Leviathan has had enough. Basically, she's less concerned about people dying than them being annoying. Climbs out of the rope, finally transforms, and climbs out in the most unpleasant way possible. And that's the issue.
Yep.
I want to talk about the art first, since we've got two brand new artists.
Okay.
So one I would say is Jack Lawrence Light.
Right. Do we know who did which?
The pages 1, 6, 8 to 10, and 17 to 20 are Billy Montfort.
Right.
And Blackie Shepard did pages 2 to 5, 7, 11, and 16. I believe 2 to 5 is the Windblade one? The Bumblebee Windblade?
Bumblebee Windblade, I think so.
But so I would say one style is very much Jack Lawrence Light, as a lot of art is these days. I've noticed in the Transformers books, trying to emulate the Lost Light style and not really getting it, in my opinion.
No.
Because I had problems with Jack when he started. I was vocal, but I think he really grew into his style. I think I would never say Jack's style was for me, but by the end I was just like, the guy knows what he's doing. This Billy unfortunately falls into the category I'm a fan of that art style and I'm trying to emulate it. In my opinion, I'm sure
it's not his own take.
No, or I don't know. I think it's Billy with an IE, so I don't know if it's Billy blah 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 blah. But they love Prime and More Than Meets the Eye, which I love both of those things. I just don't try and draw them, but it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's just kind of standard for what we get these days. Would you agree on that?
No.
What do you think of Billy Montfort's Jack Lawrence style?
Not good. Messy. Better than the other one, but proportions are not really kept well. There's like the scene where Sure Shot is transformed and Smokescreen and Firestar. Is that who it is?
I think so.
Yeah, if you look at all of this, if you look at the robots, there's some very strange proportions for those robots. I realize they're farther into the background, but they just look messy. Also, one of these cars is a Cybertron based off an ARM design, effectively, that's a car. One of these is just an Earth car. What a mess visually. But I think that's, again, a problem more so with Transformers trying to, siege and everything. I would say it's the better art style, but there's also a point where, Mikey, do you remember when, who is it gets hit? Who is it? Is it, it's not First Aid, the helicopter dude. Blades.
Yeah.
Right, so you've got Blades, he's standing over Frenzy or Rumble, depending on your perspective, and you have Six Shot coming out of the smoke. Granted, a large chunk of his head is covered by another panel. That's bad panel placement, I would say. You shouldn't really cover something important like that. We assume... Well, actually, what do you assume happens next?
Okay, I'm just scrolling down to that exact one. Okay, so Blade is there. Yeah, there's a weird cut where Frumble, I don't know which one he's supposed to be.
Sure.
Frumble is being shot, and it's covering a That is a weird edit I didn't notice before.
It's not good.
And
so you see six shot
so
coming out.
if I was looking at that panel where Blades is standing over the cassette, I would have said he's about to get his head ripped off.
Right. So panel.
So the next panel should be Six Shot closing his mouth over his face.
Or I would even go with a paw swipe.
Yeah, like this is what we get is him falling,
which I can accept because like if he was smacked by a paw, fine. But the damage that we see on the close-up shot where he's saying "Ack, ow, don't, I don't got him," he has what I would assume is like a blast wound in his chest.
Yeah, I think it's supposed. Yeah, I would say he was supposed to be cracked, but it's from the impact, but it's in every shot.
Yeah, and it's an actual hole.
Like he should have like teeth marks or claw marks on him or something.
Yeah, like the only way that could happen is if the swipe, one of the claws from the swipe specifically went into it. But because we don't see that, it doesn't make any sense, and visually it just looks like a blast shot. We know it looks like a blast shot because previously we saw Frenzy of Rumble get shot in the shoulder. Granted, I guess when he does get shot in the shoulder, the next shot where Blades is standing on him, that shot is not there anymore. As is the rest of the detail on his chest. That's also vanished. So there's
noticed that.
Yep, there's a lot of these details that are just like they're gone. They appear and vanish, and they don't really matter. We need a lot more practice on this. There needs to be a lot more refining. There needs to be a lot of going back and going back over your work and checking this stuff. Because there's a lack of detail on quite a few things. Six Shot, when he swoops in his jet mode, who, by the way, came out of nowhere, or felt like came out of nowhere. His jet mode, the proportions of
Shot, Andy.
What's that?
He's supposed to come out of nowhere.
I guess.
He's a space boat. It's a submarine, Andy.
No, that's Shockwave.
Shockwave is the best submarine.
But
spoilers for the main show.
The shot where Windblade flies past him, the proportions again on Six Shot are weird. His wings are shorter. I know it's again meant to be a forced perspective shot, but it just doesn't look right. It looks all off.
I'm not crazy about the full body wolf shot.
No,
I'm
that's
not
also
crazy about it at all.
not. Yeah, no, that's not great either.
The head looks odd.
Yeah,
like, it's like this person they're trying to draw something lupine from the front, but they've never drawn a four-legged animal in this kind of like there's somebody who's always drawn them in profile.
Yeah,
that's what this feels like to me, because they're doing that weird head tilt because like you can always tell when an artist can draw an animal from the front because they don't. That false head tilt is to give the snout and everything else, whereas like I've seen other artists who draw like front on. They get the idea of how to do the depth in the face. Yeah, he looks a bit like, all I can think of is like one of those Gozer dogs.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way to describe it. I don't know whether that was intended for what was being drawn, but if it was, that's not Six Shot's wolf mode. His seventh secret mode is a winged wolf, so the head should be a wolf.
That should have been in this.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Have some fun with it. Like, he comes in like the jet form and hits Windblade and the Wing Wolf or something like that.
Also, I'm not exactly sure how a cassette can survive being ran over by a tank.
Shut up.
Also, that actual scene where Frenzy or Rumble transforms into the cassette doesn't look right. To me, visually, it looks like he's dropped a cassette of himself on the floor after being nudged.
I also don't really get why he transformed.
No, neither do I.
Is it supposed... Or is it like, I transformed into the smaller mode so I survive?
Or was it because he was surprised? Like, he got hit and he was like, oh... And he just kind of freaked out and transformed. Yeah,
but scale, I will say there's a real problem with scale in this comic. Like, in that like panel layout, his size changes so much.
Yeah.
And like the tank goes from like looking like it would eat Smokescreen alive to being about the same size.
Yeah.
And you could say that's perspective, but I mean, I will say like that's not the toys tank mode. I mean, Slight problem though. It's Overlord's tank mode.
That's what I thought. I thought it looked very Overlord-y.
Very like the Titans Return Overlord. Specifically that one. But at least, like I said, at least it's not just a straight ripoff of the toy.
I guess that's
might
something.
Might be a straight ripoff of another toy.
Yeah.
But yeah. There's also a weird thing where like Smokescreen, the front of his camo gets longer and shorter.
Yeah.
So I do have more problems with the art than I initially led.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you're just really quickly glancing at it, you might not take it in, but the more you look at it, you're like, oh no. You know, and I'm not saying that they can't get better. It's just I'm saying what I see at the moment.
They needed practice.
Not good. Yeah. Yeah, they were too. I think it was too soon for them to be brought on for a comic. Far too soon. Also, I find Trigger Happy's guns that he holds in robot mode to be very lackluster. They're like small pistols, and I would expect him to be, with the name like Trigger Happy, be wielding rifles. But that's more of a nitpicky thing.
That's based on you say that, but that's based on the Titans Return toy.
Even those were bigger rifles, though.
But what I mean is, like, he's got big giant cannons on his arms.
Yeah.
And they're drawn in here slightly, but they're not cannons. They're like thrusters.
Yeah.
Why not give him the big giant cannon hands?
It's weird.
I would give that was one of the best things about that toy.
Oh yeah. It was definitely fun. Yeah.
Okay, so what about Blackie Shepard, who has the name of a 1980s British sitcom villain?
Okay. That's an interesting way to describe it.
They are in an episode of Only Fools and Horses for an episode. They're the rough and tumble, not so nice Del Boy.
Okay, yeah. I could see that. I would say that they're more used to drawing humans. They have that problem of drawing very humanoid shapes and then adding harder lines to them. None of them have a distinct silhouette, and again, proportions get really wonky in a lot of ways. I'm not a fan of that either. It again looks like something that would have been okay to have in the Titan comics, and even then I would have been like, it's not great. But we have some interesting panels, like in the Decepticon trailer where it barumbles, and it just all the Decepticons lining up just. Oh no. It looks real messy. It looks like they're dancing with each other rather than like, oh, we're about to fall over because we're falling over because the truck's falling over or something. Again, proportions when they're outside of the trailer. What's his name? The Micromaster who's fucking massive. Rough Stuff. Rough Stuff's huge. He's huge, and again, but it's a perspective thing. But you have Rage from Frenzy and Rumble for maybe not that much further away, but they look the proportions look off. They look off and just not good. I'm not sure whose artwork I like more, to be honest.
I know which one I do, because also his art, Blackie's art, is way more toy-tied. Like even for this series, like it really obvious to me in some shots with Trigger Happy.
Oh yeah,
where I can see transformation joints.
Yeah.
And that his approach to the head is like a dead-on match for Titan's Return head.
It's true.
Also, like the way his Optimus or his Orion moves, rather, like there's none of the artificial flow. Like that is, I posed a toy this way.
I can see that.
And like Chromia has that too. And there's also like Windblade is the original Windblade toy.
Oh yeah,
like down to the face design, down to the way, like down to her chest design, and like I can see her hip ball joints, which are really uncomfortable to see in this kind of art style.
Yeah,
especially because of how those hips transform. I don't. It's taking every problem I've had with the toy element and then adding dodgy proportions.
Yeah.
And bad staging. Like, again, I think I agree. It's one of those things where they clearly brought someone on who has drawn a lot of people, just not a lot of specifically Transformers in Motion, because I think they've done some covers before, but...
Yeah, or at least that's what we assume. Neither of us know the artist, so it is just as taking a guess.
It's just slightly annoying to be scrolling through this and see the cover for this book is a Casey Collar.
Yeah,
and that looks really good.
It does, yeah. Casey does some great work,
and they're really they're way more expressive on that cover than they are in the book.
Yeah,
Fangry looks great.
Does Fangry do anything in this issue? No, he falls into a hole, doesn't he?
Well, that's about what he did in Lost Light.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I thought you were going to say that's what he did in Master Force, and I was going to be like, you fucking liar. Wilder was great.
I do have a problem with Steeljaw as well. I like that whole Tappet.
Oh god, I forgot that was in this issue.
Tappet and Glyph look terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They look like aliens. They do. Her proportions are all, especially since they have such a distinctive look in the Valentine's special.
Yes.
If I didn't have the Glyph and Tap Out bits, I would not have guessed that was them.
No.
And Tap Out, Steeljaw looks weird. Steeljaw looks like Battle Cat.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah. I
feel like the reference was Battle Cat.
Maybe.
Not a real lion.
No.
But also, what is going on with Blaster's head?
Yeah, full on G1 toy blaster.
But his eyes keep appearing and disappearing. Also, who's the guy behind him? The weird, I'm in depth charge colors guy.
I've no idea.
He looks like he's murdered so many people.
Yeah, he's not what you'd say has a conventional Transformers face.
Which isn't a bad thing.
No.
But I'm not in love with the art.
No.
In general.
No, it's not. It's not for me.
I think
it's not good.
Yeah, I think the big gorillas look a lot better than the Transformers, but even then they have proportion issues. In one shot they're sort of normal gorilla look, and the other next one they're like, why is his head so big?
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of a vaguely, not to the same degree, but vaguely Heart of Darkness, where the guy was clearly at least understood how to draw organic things better than robots.
Yeah.
And
I would agree with that.
Even then.
Mm-hmm.
That comic was so bad. Listen back to years of Moonbase 2 to realize I hate that book. Art-wise, it's not a win. We've talked about the art a lot. What do you think about the story and the pacing? Because I got a message, which I rarely have before, 1 page! We spent 1 page!
Yeah. Jesus. How many editors did you say this had on it?
Too many! 3. Why did it have 3?
I think we know why it had... I don't know why it had 3, but it has... You know when you see a movie and you see it has 5 directors, it has 5 editors, and you go, oh, that's why this movie's a mess. That kind of feels like why this issue's a mess as well. It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's an absolute mess. And I would say the story is... It's so... It's another Brian Ruckley nothing happens issue. Nothing happens. Right? We have 3 or 4 stories? We have the story of the Decepticons meeting the Autobots who are trying to save a ship that won't save itself. That's 1. We have Bumblebee and Optimus Prime reacting to the hologram of Megatron. We have the Voin encounter, and then we have this blaster stuff as well. And some of this shit is only 1 page and happens out of nowhere. The Voin page, right? The Voin page fucking pissed me off because we have this battle scene. The battle's going along with the Autobots and Decepticons, and we have Trigger Happy shooting dudes. We have the reinforcements with Blades and Springer coming in and Sure Shot and that lot, and they jump into action. Hard cut to Voin for 1 page, and then straight back to the action. What the fuck is that? What is that editing? Why was it put here? I can't think of any reason why it was slotted in here, because it breaks the flow of the combat, and it has nothing. There's no lead in to this page. What's the relevance to it to be put here to then go straight back to the action, which again had no lead in?
A real problem here, because The weird Vine thing happened for a panel a while back. At least a few months now.
Yeah. Do you think this was just a random reminder?
Yeah, like maybe this would have worked better if we hadn't had a big break, but even then,
I don't know.
It's one of those moments where you go like, "Oh yeah, Vine," and we're going.
Like I'm not an editor for comics or stories or anything like that. But the way that my brain would usually go is, if you've got Vine stuff, put the Vine stuff together. You then intercut between two different scenes, two different areas, if they are connected. If there's a through to go like, here's a connection to this, or or there's like a story reason why you'd be following two stories at the same time and jumping back and forth between two. We've seen this done before in the Orion Pax stuff, right, where we were jumping back and forth between present day and talking about Orion Pax in the past, and there was justification for why a scene would go from present day to the past to the present to the past. There was a reason for it. There was a story reason that made sense. There isn't here. It's just put in for no fucking reason. It's the same with the Blaster stuff. We again, the last panel we have until we have the scene switch is we have Firestar, the lady red one who became another limb for a combiner, shoots an electric whip at Overlord, hard cut, and we're having a chat with Blaster and Chromia and all that. And then we're right back, and then we cut right back to Firestar's captured him with the net. That's not as bad as the previous example, but it's still not good. Because why is it here? Why is that page here? I don't know. It must be here for like setup for stories in the future, but I think it breaks the flow of what's currently happening, and not for a good reason, and not done in a good way. I think this is bad. I think this has failed. This comic is failing on an artistic level. I think it's failing on an editorial level, and I think it's failing on a story level, because I don't think anything interesting really happens here.
I don't know how to top that one.
I'd love to not be. I'd love not to feel like this. I really would. I'd love to say that I'm really enjoying this, but I don't. I think this has shown some major issues with the current main ongoing Transformer series at the moment. Major. It's cranked up all of the problems up from like 6 or 7, which it was kind of hovering around, to this is going up to 12. This is for me, this might be the worst issue that Transformers has done since it rebranded itself, since it rebooted itself.
Can I, like, one thing I have a real, like, I share a lot of your concerns with the book, but you didn't mention it. The lettering is obnoxiously bad.
Oh, I didn't notice the lettering myself. So what's wrong with that?
That's why.
Oh.
Like, so I flash back to, so Lost Light, not my favorite book in the world, not a secret, but there's a scene where Grimlock falls out of a ship and lands on some bots, right?
Oh, yeah,
and the entire back of that, like, one, that's a decent issue, but the entire back of that scene is just the sound effect, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And like, oh my god, what's that? What noise is that making? Here, I didn't realize there were sound effects until I reread it for this. So, and they only really come in. Let's see. They only really come in on the second earthquake, where the Decepticon Rise transport's about to go down, and in the corner there's a really tiny, in the same color as the wall, Barumble.
There's a lot of that using like you mentioned, the sound effects are a lot of the time the same color as the background for some reason.
So there's another one there, but they like, okay, small. The font they use, and it has a real I am photoshopped in effect. Trigger Happy is taking off, and the sound effect is a whoosh inside his jet, and I couldn't tell it was there.
Yeah, it's almost invisible.
There's no variance in the lettering.
No.
It's all it's all the same font. The transformation noise is not well handled.
No.
Tank Ank Clank. Tank Ank Clank. There's a sound effect from Landmine, which is broom, but I don't know if the idea is Landmine moving or like the text for the words is for the speaking anyway is okay, but like the actual choices for the onomatopoeia are not. Like, I once made a game of like an awesome onomatopoeia from Transformer books, like Springer shooting the ground, tudda tudda tudda, which should not be the same color as the lasers.
No.
And there are so many panels where I didn't realize, like the one where Quake is coming up behind the boys. There's a sound effect there in the smoke. I didn't recognize that.
Is it? Oh shit, yeah. There is.
Do you want to know the absolute most egregious example?
Yeah.
Panel, the page where Leviathan's coming out of the ground.
Oh, the last one, right. Let me get there.
Right, so top of the page.
Yes. Oh god, there's a boom.
There's a boom, there's a crunch, there's a zat, and there's a woomph.
Holy crap. You can just see the boom, like if you're quickly glancing, but if
you're reading this on a phone, good luck.
Yeah, I'm like having to like bob my head left and right to see the crump and the zat and the woomph. I literally have to like look up and down on my screen and turn my head to try and get it to catch the light right. Oh jeez, I didn't even notice those. Holy crap. Oh, no.
I think that's very bad lettering.
This ain't Tom B. Long. We've been spoiled by Tom B. Long and Alex Milne for years.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, I think it's the same letter who's done other issues.
Mm-hmm.
But no, seriously, no. Like that. Maybe it was just like I decided to make an artistic choice here, but this issue is, by these choices, soundless.
Yeah.
It has no background drop, it has no Foley work, and it's very important for you to be able to hear sound in your head when you're reading a comic. Like, you should be able to, like, by combining the visuals and the word, the sound effects, you should be able to get the idea of this thing is skidding. This thing is roaring. This thing is... Like, do you know how long it took them to settle on Godzilla's sound effect?
How long?
Which is now universal. The Screonk. Like, everything uses it. Every comic... I think even back in the Dark Horse days, they were using it.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like... they just went like... They needed something that had that long screech and then ended on sort of a sort of deeper sound. So Screonk. Because it's like, Screonk. That's not here. That really bugs me. The best one is where she's shooting the net. That's a decent one, but
it's okay.
And I'm not usually one to point this kind of stuff out.
No, we rarely ever talk about the lettering.
Like, oh my god, it's Six Shot. Roosh. Roosh.
Oh man.
And it's in the wrong spot because it should be coming from his back end.
You would have thought so.
Oh, there's one where Point Blank shoots a dude as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Point Blank? Sure Shot. I think it's Sure Shot. I don't know the Target Masters. I'm not impressed. I'm not in love. And there's lots of narrative problems, but these are kind of like the narrative problems we've already had that have been expanded.
Yeah.
I don't think the main book is in a good place right now, especially in this most recent arc.
No, I don't, like, if people are buying the comic, I honestly, it sounds bad. I don't know why. I don't know what enjoyment they get out of this, especially, like, if you haven't read any of the Transformer comics before, then fair enough. But if you're coming off, like, the James Roberts stuff and the John Barber stuff from back in the day, this is such a drop. This is a massive drop in quality. And like you and I have said, like, I was never a big fan of Lost Light, which is how we ended the James Roberts run. But like, from that to here, again, is a massive drop in quality. Massive. And as we've said many times before, we've been with Brian Ruckley for a long time now. Since 2019, we're on issue 21. And I still don't feel like anything's happened.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a lot less forgiving than I was with this book.
Yeah, do you know why? Because it was 2019. And we were like, okay, We'll give it a bit. We'll give it. We're nearly 2 years in because by issue 24 that'll be 2 years.
It's a bit of a weird one because remember it was 2 issues a month at first.
Oh, that's true. So
we're probably more than a year and a half.
2 years worth of story for like a standard comic that would have a standard release.
I mean, basically, like the best thing I can think of to compare this to is the DC Rebirth release strategy, which was 2 issues a week for a lot of books.
Yeah.
And like the one book I stuck with like right to the end because it's ending soon, or at least this one with the author is The Flash.
Right.
Which is also like widely regarded as one of the best Flash runs. And comparing what happens in an arc of that book with what's going on here, or comparing what happens in an arc of Immortal Hulk, or comparing what happened in More Than Meets the Eye, or R.I.D., or Optimus, or Till All Are One,
or Infiltration,
yeah, or Stormbringer.
I'd even say the Dreamwave stuff.
Yeah, and that had
problems, but stuff was happening.
Like even Micromasters had better pacing, and Micromasters is atrocious.
It's terrible, and you could say at least it's only 4 issues. This is 21.
It's weird, and it's hard in some ways to judge. Are my reviews for this book dominated by that exhaustion, or are they actually reflecting the book itself?
I think with this, I don't think it's exhaustion. I think the problems speak for itself.
Yeah. Anyway, we can't just moan the entire time.
No, it's
Andy,
true.
what is your rating?
The only reason I'm not giving this a 1 is because I don't feel the comics telling me to go fuck myself.
What comic has? I want an example of that.
I can tell you what movie had, and that was Gamer with Gerard Butler.
Never seen it.
That movie basically told me to go fuck myself. So I'm giving this a 2. This is bad. You might be asking, how could it get worse? I always say you're a very unimaginative person if you don't think it can get worse. So I will always believe it can get worse. But I think this is really bad. I'm getting 2 out of 10.
Oh God, I don't want to be that guy. I kind of agree.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to say I kind of agree on this because
fuck you, Andy.
Yeah, that. But I don't want to rate a Brian Ruckley issue that low because the guy is not untalented. This is not a case where I feel like the writer of this book is bad. I don't think he's a bad writer. I think he's making bad choices, but I don't think he's a bad writer. I think he's talented. And I kind of wish he'd sort of step back from the book for a couple of months and come back with fresh eyes.
Yeah. Someone needs to come in and do something
we need
drastically.
Something to happen.
Yeah.
Because All Hail Megatron and that era wasn't given this much time, and they were planning on doing stuff with that. The last time we had a book that went on this long that people were falling so out of love with, it was Mike Costa, and he genuinely hated what he was doing. I don't think Brian Ruckley does. Mike Costa hated it by the end.
Yeah.
Like, he was not shy about it either. The Moonbase 2 has interviews with Mike Costa where he is basically saying he hates you and everything you stand for because you made his life hell for 2 years.
Which is understandable. It makes sense why he would hate everyone. I hope that the writers don't hate us because we don't hate the person, just the work.
Like
it's hard to separate sometimes.
I've spoken with Brian. He seems like a lovely man. I've listened to his podcast. His podcast is way better than this.
Yeah.
Like, Wild Episode is worth your time regardless of if you're interested in the topic, because he does it really, really well. It's one of the best produced nature podcasts out there, in all honesty. Does not have enough listenership. This book is not Brian Ruckley at his best. Not even him on the day off. But, I don't know. Yeah, it's a 2 or a 3, and I'm feeling in the mood for a 2.
That's fair, yeah.
Like, right. I might come to regret it, but we don't get do-overs. The rating is the rating.
Yep.
Please, Jake Wood, rethink your choices on lettering. Like, he's been lettering since Transformers 15, and something about this issue drove me nuts. He's also lettering on Galaxies. And
okay.
So I haven't been paying enough attention there. But, and My Little Pony vs. Transformers, which we haven't done because I don't know if I want to read it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and too many editors. No, one vision. You need to have... There is a reason John Barber was as obsessive as he was. it's because he had the drugs, but also because he understood what he was doing. And I think this book has been unfocused in every way since this changeover. This is why I always say, like, they're going to do a crossover where the Morden meets the I Crew show up. Because they're going to need to save the book.
Oh, God.
And they're going to pull a DC.
No.
Yeah. Anyway.
On to Galaxies?
On to Galaxies, which I feel more positive about.
Okay. No, I would agree, to be fair. I would agree. I am more positive on Galaxies than the book that we just talked about. I will agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, you do that.
Yes.
So, gauging the Crute. Gauging the Crute. I'm actually trying to say gauging
the truth.
There we go.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
I thought you were saying Crute, and I was like, this isn't Warhammer.
Gauging the truth. There we go.
Yep, you got
Part 1 and 2. We will do part 1 first.
Yes.
Which is written by Sam Maggs, who did the Valentine's special, I believe. Art by Bette McGuire Schmidt. Colors by Josh Burcham. And letters by Jake Wood. Edited by the entire Cooks. So, this follows on the story of Gage, Arcee, and Greenlight and drops you straight in it because Gage is suddenly super religious and is a curate for the reversionist sect. She's working under her mentor Accelerator, and she's meditating and doing communal chores and doing all that kind of devotion stuff that gives your life meaning when you're in a cult. But she's very aware of the fact that she doesn't really fit in with her shipmates. She tries very hard, but she's very aware of her daily routine and daily toil and feels like she's not trying hard enough. Accelerator goes to any level to kind of quash her doubts, and Gage comes to accept the central truth that reversionism has, which is heretic is basically God, or at least a messiah. At the latest devotion, Accelerator tells her to go back to her quarters and says, if you're troubled, maybe you should pause before rushing on. Accelerator thinks that Gage is like this because she's basically thick as a ditch. Gage is actually very intelligent. She's absorbed all of Heretic's teachings, and the problem is she's a very intelligent person who's presented with a lot of religious theory and does what a lot of really super intelligent people do with that, analyze it and find problems. Heretic taught them that Cybertron is a manifestation of Primus. They're fleeing the planet while the non-believers are ruining it without his benevolent guidance. Oh my god, the sinners. The Exodus escaped, and Primus's representative, Heretic, is bringing everyone that much closer to God. It's not culty in the least. She's always accepted this and tries to live by them, but she's always doubted it. And then suddenly her computer starts talking to her because she starts seeing messages. She keeps these messages from everyone. She tries to put this out of her mind, goes to another devotion and sees a message flicker on Heretic's throne, gets too close, and Heretic is not the gracious demigod that he appears to be. He threatens to basically murder her for getting close to his hallowed ground and essentially assaults her. She's terrified and runs out of the room and begins going like, what? How can someone like that be an emissary of a loving God? There's a question for a lot of religious classes. I'm Irish. You've no idea what we learned in school when it comes to Catholicism. And she starts doubting her beliefs and everything else. And eventually she realizes that what she's been seeing is actually a message that is telling her to go somewhere, which is into the Exodus's engine room. She goes down. She gets caught by a guard. She takes Accelerator's advice and knocks him the fuck out. And she goes down and finds a prison where two people she seemingly has never seen before, which is Arcee and Greenlight, are imprisoned, and they want to tell Gage the truth. So that's a pretty quick summation of a pretty rapid issue. This issue does not hang about. I will talk again on the art first, just because it's in my head. Whereas I would say the last was trying to emulate Jack Lawrence, this is trying to emulate Sarah.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is trying to be Sarah Peter Duché. I will never say that name straight. I'm not sure I'd say Josh's colors quite complement this.
Mm-hmm.
They're a bit too faded out.
Yeah.
Like, for this particularly kind of animated style. But, and I'm saying this, like, as I said, I think this is a little bit heavy on the reference. Like, it's a bit too Sarah, which makes you sort of compare to Sarah's work, and that's unfair to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's just mean. I think this works fairly well. It's not amazing, but I think it's quite expressive. There are better proportions in this, and proportions seem fairly on the ball. There's a few panels that have problems, but no more than any other comic book, I'd say. I think it needed a lot more color, though. Like, there's generally 2 or 3 color palettes, and everything is portrayed in the same color palette.
Yeah.
Like, if something is orange, everything is orange. If something is blue, everything is blue. I think we should have... It tends to make things fade when they should pop. But I think this is fairly competently done in the art. One of the covers is in there by Umi Miao, who I would rather see do a book, because they do awesome eyes. We've talked about their work before, but yeah, art is competent. Not amazing in my opinion, but not particularly noteworthy in being bad. What's your take on it?
Way better than what we just looked at. This actually looks like a fucking Transformers comic. You know, everything's drawn. That it's weird because it's like you say, it's just it's a standard Transformers comic. It's fine, but leans, like you say, very heavily into Sarah's art style. And yeah, you know, I understand that it's a very good art style, but might be worth trying to get more of your own kind of feel, if possible. But I'll take 1,000 of these versus what we just saw in the previous issue. You know, you laugh because you know it's true.
I mean, yeah.
But I would agree though that the color palette, unless it was intentional to show the kind of monotonous, washed out life that Gage is leading at the moment, I think some actual color would have worked better. Like, Josh is good, but it didn't feel appropriate for this book. But I would have summarized the comic a lot faster than you, because to me it didn't feel like anything happened.
Well, for me, it's a mystery book. It's supposed to throw you off because Gage was not in this situation, so you're like, okay, what's going on?
The problem is it takes so long for us to get to the answer.
I mean, it was always going to end on the answer.
Sure.
Like, it was never, like, the nature of comic books, it was never going to give it mid-book.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would have liked a bit more delving into Gage. Like, we get one perspective from Gage. I would have liked maybe these, like, because what we're shown here is really one of the mistakes I think people make, especially if they're a-religious or anti-religious or whatever, or even if they're very religious, is that they show one side of religion. So this is largely the negative, repetitive side of religion.
Yeah.
We don't have anyone coming in here and say, like, God told me to be kind to you. Is there anything I can do for you today?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Gage, you seem troubled. Oh, you know, the word teaches us to reach out to our brothers and sisters, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Like, we have be pentious, be pious. And I'm saying this as a very a-religious individual, as most Irish Catholics are these days. But I'm not. I'm Catholic by name, not by choice. But this has that... We were trying very hard to give the perspective of this is a cult, and we didn't add the stuff in a cult that... Because cults are carrot and stick.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
They work by breaking down your resistance, but by also giving you these little reward incentives. Because it wouldn't work otherwise. They wouldn't drag you in if it was simply like, God said be good, do it. But I like the mystery aspect of it, because it did throw me off. I was like, okay, I know full well Gage ain't this. And I thought Gage's voice came across pretty well.
Sure.
I liked Gage as well, which was nice. And I just liked the premise overall. Maybe the execution could have been better, but again, it was like, hey, here's a mystery. We're going to have a pacing and resolve this at some point.
Mm-hmm.
come back in 10 years' time when we finally get to the point. But because I read this actually before I read the other ones.
Yeah, same.
So it's not a case where I'm like biased because I read 21 and went, oh my god.
Yeah.
But this works for me. This does work for me. It could be better, but I do like the overall story.
Yeah, I just came away going, yeah, okay. It just took a long time it felt like it took a long time to get here, but like you say, it was always going to end on the answer. Maybe you're right. Maybe they did need to flush out, get someone else's perspective, because there's a lot. It's all monologue pretty much. And maybe if we'd broken out of the monologue for just a bit, maybe that would have helped as well. I just came away going, yeah, okay, yeah. I felt like the next issue is quite quick to wrap up as well. How many issues is the story meant to be?
3, I believe.
Okay. It felt like, in my opinion, it could have probably been done in 2. Unless loads of stuff happens next.
I would agree on that, if I'm honest.
Okay,
but
that's fair.
it depends on the third issue.
I
would kind of say there was a directive end on a cliffhanger, and they needed that moment, and I think they added in an extra. It's one of those issues where it feels like it was scripted. It feels like The Hobbit. There was a plan here for 2 stories, and someone said we need 3.
Yeah.
I think hopefully the last issue of this is not a 2.5-hour fight. It's a bad movie. It's very bad. I will never forgive them for getting rid of Guillermo del Toro.
No, agreed. That was a mistake.
Monsters. He won't talk about that movie.
I don't blame him.
I saw an interview where he said, like, it's like I've lost a child and people keep asking me, how's your child? It's like, I don't want to talk about it. Remarkably, I don't want to talk about it. But my rating for this would be a 6. When I read it at first, I was actually leaning more towards an 8. But rereading it, I was just like, there are pacing issues, there are payoff issues, because as the reader, you knew it was going to end on RC and Greenlight. So maybe there was something more dramatic you could have done with that, like ending on RC and Greenlight's bodies, and she's like, I don't know who these people are, or something like that, and it's like they left a posthumous message. But RC's got a new toy, so that'll never happen. But yeah, so for me, I'm comfortable with a 6, but I did enjoy the read. Yeah. What about you?
I just came away, I didn't hate it again. I just thought it was just kind of meh. So I'm kind of going with a 5. There was nothing I hated about it, and I thought the art was at the very least competent. So it's just, yeah, okay, whatever. I kind of picked it up and put it down kind of issue.
Next up, we have part 2. Most of the team is the same except Umi Meow, who was supposed to be doing the whole issue.
Oh, really?
She did pages 4 to 7, where basically Greenlight looks less like a dude.
Oh, okay.
The Greenlight has a weird thing in this book where Bet's take on her is quite strong-jawed, which gives her quite a masculine face, whereas Umi still has quite a square shape in her face, but the general features are more feminine.
Yeah, it's the past scenes where Umi's doing it, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah.
And also, like, those scenes are clearly more toned down than what Umi would usually do, because we've seen her covers, and it's a lot more anime.
Yes.
Which I'm guessing is a editorial edict. But, so, basically, we cut to Gage, who is meeting these 2 strange ladies locked up in prison. Now, this is not the start of an interesting adult film. But it's like, we sent you a message. Come in, put down the bars.
Take this whip.
But RC basically says, like, whoop, brain wipe. We have a fix for that. They didn't take that off us, but we have a fix for this.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Yeah, where do you put your Asacoco? But Gage, oddly enough, is like, strange ladies, I don't necessarily want to stick anything you've given me in my brain. RC says that the reversion has altered you and you need to figure out what's going on, and Gage basically goes, okay, what else am I going to do? I'm in trouble anyway. Plugs these into her brain and has a flashback to her birth where she meets her mentors, RC and Greenlight, otherwise known as her parents. She remembers the escape, the tether, RC kicking the shit out of a large army. We find out what happened after they got onto the reversionist ship. They didn't take well to having non-believers on board.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of went nuts. RC and Greenlight they locked up. I'm slightly surprised they didn't murder them. But it turns out Gage was young enough that you could basically reprogram her brain. So they've wiped her memory and made her into a reversionist. And I find it interesting they consider Cybertronians and reversionists different. I'm wondering if like reversionism is like an outside colony perspective.
Yeah, maybe this is something that, I don't know, maybe should be covered in 21
Yeah.
issues or something.
Yeah, like, hey, it turns out these guys see like Cybertron as a mecca.
Yeah.
That they, this is the Holy Land because they're from another planet or something like that.
Yeah.
So Gage is obviously like, oh no. Rips off the patch and she believes RC, but she's not happy about it. But she's like, but I'm two people now. And also she can't get them out because it's complicated. And yeah, she basically decides she has to leave and try and figure out something to go. Greenlight says like, whatever they're planning, they're going to do it. These guys are planning something. They're going to do it soon. And you need to be careful. And also we need to stop them. If you could help, that would be nice. Gage returns up. Accelerator starts scolding her, and Gage tries to pull a fast one, where she's just like, "Hey, buddy, maybe I could clean the Pope's bedroom. Maybe I could clean the Pope's sex dungeon. Maybe. I mean, I'm basically the lowest rung in this ladder, but he is the Pope. He don't have time for this." And Accelerator very politely says no.
No, to be fair, she says, I'll have to check with higher people.
Yeah, which is
like, what?
No. Just tell her no. No, you can't clean the Pope's bedroom. The Pope doesn't want you
can't
in the
go
bedroom.
to his sex dungeon.
No, the Pope has a sex dungeon for a reason. It's the Pope's. You are not qualified. You're not tall enough for the Pope's sex dungeon. You must be this tall to be right.
You must be this pious to scrub Pope come off the walls in the Pope's sex dungeon. Have you prayed to Primus enough today? No, no cum walls for you, you heretic.
Oh, but he's the heretic. Why would you trust someone called heretic in a religion?
I don't know.
His name is literally I don't believe. Yeah, there's another proclamation. Heretic makes a big speech about stuff gonna happen. And Gage is kind of like, yeah, great, yay.
Woo.
Hey. She manages to find a mainframe that will let her free everyone, and she's like, am I being manipulated from both sides? She makes a choice, and that choice is to free Greenlight and RC, because technically they never asked her for anything. They said, we need help. It's up to you if you give it. RC gives her a big hug, which is kind of sweet. And then they all get into a fight where it turns out Gage takes after RC. They beat up the peoples attacking them. And then it turns out that the reversionist plan is to find a planet and wipe it of its indigenous habit and move there because they're space colonists. They have found Plymouth Rock and they would like everyone to leave it, please. And it turns out their Plymouth Rock is Cybertron. So,
which is weird because they've been living on that planet for seemingly a long time.
Yeah, they left it like the impression here it's been weeks.
Yeah.
So they left to turn around. Or
they went into orbit and have just been floating in orbit.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure which is weirder.
What if they went back to get a running start? But yeah, so the issue ends with like they're going to wipe all life off of Cybertron.
Somehow. I didn't feel like a massive threat though, because is the ship like heavily armored? Did it have a massive... I was expecting like the last panel would be like a giant gun aimed at the surface of the planet or something.
Just Unicron's head.
It's, something, because otherwise they're just looking out the window and going, they're going to attack Cybertron. They're going to make this place a war zone. And then you look at the other issues and it's like, it already is a war zone. Whatever.
Why did you leave?
Yeah.
You left because of war. Now
you're going back to start a war?
Well, start a war?
Yeah, kill everyone? I don't know.
War.
Yeah, that's why I felt the ending was a bit flat to the issue as well. I was like, what?
I think this is, like I said, I think this is an issue that is filling space because this was not intended to be this long.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Because this felt like it was a story about Gage, Greenlight, and Arcee. It does not feel like it needs a planetary destruction moment.
Do you want me to, I don't want to shit on the writer. Do you want me to set out a quicker way to have done these two issues? You have Gage, right?
Yeah.
You have Gage cleaning the ship. She's a curious little bot because she's young, right? We agree with that. So she goes cleaning where she's not meant to clean. Finds Arcee and Greenlight. They give her the mind probe, and she's trusting, and she's like, oh, I don't know. Does it? And then we go, and she goes back to her life, goes back to scrubbing and cleaning. And then we have the scene where she goes up to the chair, Heretic throws her down, and she goes, oh, what the fuck? Maybe I should help these girls. And then boom, we finish the issue as we finish this issue. That's maybe how I would have edited this story down. And I still think you get the same feel, but you would have had to rush the cult stuff a bit more. But I think we still hit the same points for the most part.
Yeah, and again, like, to be blunt, a lot of this cult stuff should have been set up already in the other book.
Yeah.
And it's fair to say this book doesn't need to assume you read the other book, but it can assume that you, once we say reversionists, look, they're all praying, we get the point.
Oh, yeah, and at the very least, like, if it's
not like the other book didn't have the space for it.
No, no. I mean, if you go down that route, you do what they always do, and you put, like, look to issue 20 or 12 of Transformers for the example of
look at this.
We're talking about. Yeah, exactly.
Look at it.
We've done it before. They do it in big boy comics like Marvel and DC too. So why not here? I don't know.
Well, no, I think this is. I do feel this. A lot of this is filler, but I don't think this issue is as good as the last one. But I think it's perfectly readable.
Yeah. There's nothing where I was like, this is Garbo.
Yeah, again, the art, my opinion of it hasn't really changed.
No.
I like Umi's pages a bit better, but I'm also kind of like, but she could have done her cool art style.
Oh, that was another thing. I wasn't happy that we got like 4 pages of flashback, including stuff that we already knew, mostly already knew.
Yeah, we didn't.
Again, like you say, this is stuff that, you probably need for people who haven't read the other stuff, but could have been summed up again, like read the issue, because there was only one issue where this all took place. So you say, read this issue, boom, you've cleared it up instead of at least 3 pages. I don't know, man. Mistakes were made, I think, editing wise.
Yeah, well, yes, we know we had too many editors.
Yes, yeah, we had 2 or 3 on this one.
3 again. The same
3 again. Okay.
I think they do a better job here.
Yes, agreed. But I think it's just generally a better story.
Yeah,
I'm fair.
Yeah. Just thinking of the editors. I once read an issue of a Transformers book, where I know a page had been moved to change the impact of the ending.
Okay.
And so the book was intended to end in oh my god, this, but it went for a more, like, it did the reveal, but then it also followed up. It moved 1 page forward, so suddenly it was like an emotional, like, low key. You had the shock moment, and then had a low key, like, oh no, now I'm sad moment as well. Which I thought, like, that was done by a certain Barberman, and that was, in my opinion, really good editing.
Yeah.
This feels like they're just taking the script and making sure there's no spelling errors.
Yeah.
But I would give this a 5. I do think it's a step down from the last issue, but I don't think it's problematic in any way.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Andy?
I'd rate it about the same. I didn't have worse opinions on it or better opinions on it. I kind of looked at it as just more of the same from the previous issue.
In which case, we will wrap this one up, guys. As always, thank you so much for listening. If you got any feedback, moonbase2@gmail.com, over on Twitter, Facebook, Libsyn, iTunes. We're on Spotify now. I don't know.
Hooray! Mikey worked magic.
I used the power of chicken blood. And everywhere you can find us, really. And if you're on Patreon, $2 a month will get you this show, the extended version, and anything else we do, including the woo-woos, which I got a lovely message about this week, whereby basically someone said, you're right, Kamen Rider O's is a very hard act to follow. And I was just like, I know I'm right.
Did you then reply with, so what's your favourite? And they say, oh, Ghost, or Forze, and you go, right click, block.
I've never blocked someone because they like a show I don't.
I
blocked them
would.
when they've tried to tell me they like a show I don't. I think Game of Thrones ended really well. Bye. But yeah, and we do cool stuff. We've got a DS9 show this month, which we have to still record. But yeah, Andy,
Mikey, yes.
Andy,
Yes.
who are you?
I am Andy. Hello. Hi. Hey, guys.
Hey guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey guys.
Yubi.
Yubi.
Give me your fingers.
I don't think we could pull that off.
No, I'm not cute enough to be a Corone. No, I wouldn't want to be. I
No,
wouldn't
because
want to
you're
do
not
that.
as twisted as she is, to be blunt.
No, well...
You're more a Coco.
Yeah, I could see that. I'll take that. Yeah. I'll definitely take that. You can find me on Twitter, CCTFW, on YouTube as Cover Commander TFW, and Mikey gave you all the podcast info. Apart from you can head over to ccbunker.weebly.com as well, if you want to. And yeah, that's it, I think. Oh, actually, did you say how people can find you? I can't remember.
Somewhere.
Okay, good. That's good enough.
Actually, you're probably more of an Aqua.
Okay.
Like the Onion Girl.
Yeah. At least I'm not a Miko or a Pekora.
I like Miko and Pekora. Be nice.
So do I. I like them, but my god, they're dangers. They're like Hachima. They're dangers to themselves and society.
Stay home.
Stay home.
or else. To be fair, we could do with a bit of that at the moment.
It's true. Sure.
There we go. Anyone remember that movie where the guy climbs a clock tower?
Back to the Future?
No. Michael Douglas climbs a clock tower with a gun. He was like a put-upon office worker or something like that, and he finally snaps and goes like, bang, there's another one.
Are you talking about falling down?
Don't know if it's called that, but I remember the movie. I'm just thinking like, now just swap out a high-pitched Japanese girl for that. Screaming stay home. But yeah, anyway, guys, stick around if you're on Patreon. If not, we will talk to you next time.
You are now leaving Moonbase 2.